Welcome back to a Psalm a Day. We are in Psalm chapter 62. Would you join me as I read? The Bible says, "Truly my soul waiteth upon God, from him cometh my salvation. He only is my rock and my salvation, he is my defense, I shall not be greatly moved. How long will ye imagine mischief against a man? Ye shall be slain all of you. As a bowing wall shall ye be, and as a tottering fence. They only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Selah. My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. In God is my salvation and my glory, the rock of my strength and my refuge is in God. Trust him at all time, or trust in him at all times, ye people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Selah. Surely men of low degree are vanity, and men of high degree are a lie. To be laid in the balance, they are altogether lighter than vanity. Trust not in oppression, and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them. God hath spoken once, twice have I heard this, that power belongeth unto God. Also unto thee, O Lord, belongeth mercy, for thou renderest to every man according to his work." As we look at Psalm 62, the theme of Psalm 62 is trusting only in God. Trusting only in God. We see in verse 3 that we kind of can see that David seems a little bit tired of his enemies. He says in verse 3, "How long will ye imagine mischief against a man?" He says, "Ye shall be slain, all of you." David's like, is enough not enough? How long will ye imagine mischief against a man? You'll be slain. All of you will be slain. All of you will lose. In verse 5, he says to himself, he says, "My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him." And it is also repeated in another psalm. He says pretty much the same thing as he speaks to himself, and I believe it's Psalm 42, chapter 42, verse 6 and verse 11. He says, "Hope thou in God." And he's talking to himself. He says, "Oh my soul, why are you discomforted? Why are you disquieted? Why are you cast down? Hope thou in God." And that's kind of what he's saying in verse 5 here. He says, "My soul, wait thou upon God." And then we see in verse 2, he says, "He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved." And in verse 6, he repeats it. "He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved." And that kind of goes along with Psalm 42 as well. As David repeats twice, he tells himself to hope in God. And twice here he's reminding himself that God is his rock and his salvation is his defense. In Psalm chapter 61, we saw that as well, as he says that the Lord is his tabernacle. The Lord is his shelter and a strong tower from the enemy. So he's his defense. He's his protector. And he isn't just a God to David, but he is everything to David. He's David's shelter and defense and comforter and all of these things, rock and salvation. And then we see in verse 8 his encouragement to those around him. He says, "Trust in him at all times, ye people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us." I'm reminded of 1 Peter 5:7. It says, "Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you." And then we see in verses 11 and 12 that God is a God of power and a God of mercy. David says, power belongeth unto God, and he says, verse 12, also unto thee, O Lord, belongeth mercy, for thou renderest to every man according to his work. And so what is our application? If I could sum up Psalm 62, I said this at the beginning, I would say that it is a psalm of trusting only in God. But our application today, excuse me, is to first of all depend on God or rely on God. Depend on God. Secondly, trust only in God. Trust only in God. And dependence and trusting are pretty similar, but they're very different as well. As depending is a reliance upon, depending is not just trusting. I can depend on someone to take care of me, but not necessarily completely trust that they're going to take good care of me. When you were a kid, you depended on your parents for food, for shelter, for clothes. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you trusted them all the time. But depend on God, trust only in God, and lastly, wait on God. And sometimes in our lives we're faced with things and we'd like things to happen a little bit quicker than the Lord has planned. And in verse 5 it says, my soul, wait thou only upon God. David says, I'll only wait for the Lord. He is my expectation. From him is my expectation. And so if you have something you've been praying for or waiting on, and it hasn't come to pass yet, let me encourage you. Just keep praying. Keep doing what you're supposed to do. And the Lord will answer in his time. The Lord will answer in his time. So, thank you for joining me in Psalm chapter 62 today. And trust in the Lord. Depend on him, trust in him, and wait upon him. And so I hope this was an encouragement. The outline will be in the description below. You can go check out the Bible with Brady. He's doing a fantastic job over there. And some very good editing skills. So I'm proud to call him a friend. And I'm especially proud of what he's doing over there. So go check out his channel. And once again, thank you for joining me. And we will see you for Psalm chapter 64.